Hello friends, my name is Peter and welcome back to the Retro Unscripted channel. Today is another episode of Pete Plays with one of my favorite Super Nintendo games of all time, Axelay. Today, during the course of this video, I'm going to try and play through the game from start to end. It's going to be uneasy because my skills aren't quite what they once were, but still it'll be fun to take a trip and see why I think this game is one of the best Super Nintendo games out there. And this intro is one reason why. I mean, seriously, how do you not get pumped up after listening to that music and watching the intro? I don't know how. I know the first time that I saw it, I was rip-roaring and ready to go. And that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to get set up, and we're going to try and run through this all the way. Granted, it's going to be uneasy, so there's not going to be a lot of spoilery stuff. But at the same time, as I'm playing through it, I'll be able to tell you a little bit about why I do think so highly of this fantastic game that really deserved a sequel and didn't get one. What I always do, and I don't know whether you do the same, those of you that have the game, I always set my shot and my missile to the same button. I don't like having options. I just want to hold the button down and go. For arms changes, I do keep it on the two triggers, though. I set the trigger speed to 4, and we'll kind of give it just a little more brightness is fine. We'll see how that goes. Set the level to easy, and let's see how I do. So you get 7 shots at it. If I can't beat this game in 7 tries, then I kind of feel sad for myself. But I haven't played all the way through it in a couple months, so we'll see. So right away we're starting with a vertical orientation. Now I'm switching to the second weapon as kind of like a radial kind of weapon that goes 360 degrees around, which is a big help. Now the neat thing about this game is that in a lot of cases, if you get hit by a bullet, whereas in some shooters it's pretty much instant death, in this game, as long as you hit a bullet and not an object, like I just got hit, you're going to lose just the weapon you were on. So it's kind of like extra lives, if you will. I tend to be a bit of a point hog, so I go for extras wherever I can find them. Now we're going to accelerate, and we're going to get our first mini-boss here, which just kind of fades in. Really the coolest thing, especially back then. Now he's disappearing. Whoa! There we go. I love how smooth that is, where the transparency just flows. It doesn't slow the game down or anything. I'll mention it a lot, but the music in this game is fantastic. At least I think it is. Now, it does get a little tough to see the further ahead you go. As you can see, there's some overly bright stuff in the distance. Now we have some turrets along the side here, which are extra points. Now, there is a part coming up here that I always make a mistake on because I'm greedy. Here it comes. Where you kind of get stuck in this very narrow pathway. Hey, I didn't die. Perfect. You guys are good luck charms. That doesn't really surprise me anymore. Every time I do one of these videos, something that I can't ordinarily do, I can somehow pull off. So here's the first major boss battle of the game. And the thing that you'll notice is how big it is. I mean, you've seen ships that are small, medium-sized, but nothing this big. That's really one of the hallmarks of this game is the epic boss battles, just how big and how imposing they are. Now, there is slowdown from time to time. Oh, I just got hit again, so I'm down to my missiles now. The good news is, though, if you do lose all of your weapons, as long as you make it without losing your life, you get your weapons back in the next level. This is taking a lot longer than it usually does. Boom! One boss down, a few to go. This stage right here is one of my favorites, and it's because of something that I'll show you when we get there. It's something, as far as the imagery goes and the cinematics go, that just is really breathtaking. So now we migrate from a vertical orientation to a horizontal one, which is also one of the notable factors of this game, is that the constantly changing perspectives. This wasn't the only game to do something like this. PlayStation owners may remember a game called Philosoma from 1995, which also did something similar where each stage had different perspectives, some vertical, some horizontal, some even behind the ship. So now we're entering the base. Everything still seems pretty normal, although there are defense forces trying to prevent you from getting any further. Now, if you notice here, if you look in the background, you have a vertically scrolling background, but we're horizontally scrolling in the foreground. One of the coolest things. Just in terms of style, I mean. And again, thinking about the time that this was happening, you know, this was 1992, I believe. So it's pretty impressive stuff. Now you can see that we're kind of hovering over a base. There are some ships down there as they fly by vertically. In this particular stage, you probably noticed I like using the radial weapon there. This seems to work the best. Alright, now comes one of my favorite parts. Now if you look, the Earth comes into view. So now it's vertical, horizontal, horizontal, just like that. So cool. And then the Earth obscures from view, and we go back to what we were doing before. far, so good here. Now we're getting into the part of the base that's already kind of broken, and it's boss battle time. Robocop fans might recognize this boss design. If you haven't seen it, just wait. Yeah, it's a robot. You can probably tell that from the music, but... Remember, when I was talking about size before? This is basically an Ed 209 ripoff, but it's a cool Ed 209 ripoff. And again, if you look at it, it's about 3/4 of a screen big. Back behind him. Now watch this when he explodes. Boom! And then zoom out. So cool. Thank you, Mode 7. 2 stages down. And now this is the first stage, I believe, where we're getting a different main weapon, which is the needle cracker.
Arms installation is complete. Good luck.
So we've done vertical, horizontal, and now we're back to vertical again. And there is a lot going on here. Excuse me. Now we're in like a metropolis of sorts. And I already died. Alright, that's alright. It's only 1 life lost. This is almost a nod to Life Force, by the way. The very last stage of Life Force has something similar where you're flying over a metropolis-like venue and there are lasers or missiles being shot at you from below. So it's a really cool nod. I don't know whether others noticed it or not, but I sure did the first time I played. Oh, I died again. Alright, I need to pay more attention here. Already up to close to 125,000. Got our first, or we got our mid-boss here. Oh boy. Yeah, this is usually where I start having some difficulty, so I'm not surprised. But the best thing to do, because there are bonus lives in this game if you can reach certain scores, is to just try and hit those score margins. So take out whatever you can. mistaken, there'd be creatures that come out from under here. There they are. Now, this particular area here, you have turrets, like rolling turrets, that you can destroy in order to make your way, or kind of blast your way through this little maze-type area here. And it's boss time. Now this is one of the coolest bosses in the game because of what it does. It's a multi-former. There's my bonus life, thank you. So that's one form. Now the second form looks like a witch's hat. The idea is to take out all the turrets, which may be more difficult to do since I'm down to my last weapon here. I don't think I'll do it, but if I can beat this last form with no weapons left, I'll be pretty impressed. Nope, it's all right. This gets a lot easier now. There we go. Excuse me. A little under the weather today. 3 stages down. So we've gone vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal, vertical, and now, of course, we're going to go horizontal. And now we're going to take a trip underwater. Nice little cavern area here. You can tell by the reverb and the sound that you're in a cave. One of the cool things about the SNES sound chip is that it could do that kind of trick with the sound. Oh! Did not even see that. Another nod to early Gradius or Life Force games with the dragon characters. It's probably not the weapon I wanted to lose, but nothing I can do about that now. Game's pretty liberal with extra lives, which is good. Now these mask things tend to weigh you down. So now I have to play keep away. Ah. Still have one ship in reserve, so. And it's boss time. Now, I don't know if you notice, gliding along the top of the water here, it's actually really neat, the effect that they have there. Nice attention to detail. So there's no real mini-boss here. This is the only boss battle of the stage, but it's huge. Oof. Ah. Alright. I can do this. Alright. So we're 4 stages in. I have no lives left, but I still have all of my credits left, my continues left.
Arms installation is complete. Good luck.
Now a lava world and huge lava worms here. You do notice some parts of the monster are missing because it's that big, but now this is where the game really starts to push as far as what the Super Nintendo's processor can do. And it will show here probably more than any other stage before it. And more dragons. Those look like they're right out of Gradius 3. Again, you're starting to see some slowdown just a little bit. But if you think about it, the processor's doing a lot right now. It's making the lava churn. It's keeping track of all the enemies on screen and the ship movements. Here comes the worm again. slow down. Oh boy. Alright. And again, nod the life force here with the lava rather than the solar flares. Okay, well, I gotta try and beat this boss on 1 life. Or I gotta do the stage all over, which I really don't want to do. Here goes. If you haven't seen this boss before, look at that. That sucker is huge. And I died. So that's 1 credit used. I had 338,000 points before I screwed up there.
Arms installation is complete.
We'll get it this time, though. It was actually a decent effort, that score. I know some Let's Players have said it, but playing and narrating at the same time is really tough to do. Like, some of your attention gets pulled away from what you're doing, and it's really easy to make a mistake. Especially when you're somebody like me who doesn't edit after the fact. Everything's got to be done at the same time. Alright. These buildings here, you can see when you go over them that they're going to be spitting out some enemies, so the best thing to do is to hang back. Because once they get airborne, it becomes difficult to take them down. Whoa. Now I should have no problem taking the boss down this time. You'll notice here that there'll be a split right there. Okay, so the idea is just to shoot him in the chest. And all the while trying to avoid him trying to just crush your ship. Ugh. It's actually harder when you're not shooting as many projectiles at once because the boss doesn't slow down at all. Oh, almost. Got him. Need to last one more second, then I would have been okay. Alright. And now the last stage of the game. The game is fairly short, even with the continue that I've had. The runtime on this video is only 31 minutes or so, so it's taken about a half hour to get here. Now this stage is just neat because you're basically taking on an entire armada by yourself. Granted, it's the same ship over and over again, but it's the scale of the battle that you're seeing that's really impressive. Now they're trying to close you in. You can see two ships there. These ships take a lot of abuse, apparently. Here's the last ship before we do something different. Again, the music's just perfect here. So you make it through the defense fleet, and now we're getting close to the enemy base. And this was also something neat back at the time. You can actually see the enemy as a spotlight. Now you can't attack this enemy. You can't kill him, or it, I should say. I don't know why I'm classifying it as a him. But now you can see how that light makes all the difference in the world. So it gives you that illusion of darkness. Now, it is kind of cheap how this guy can just walk through everything. There we go. Finally, he's gone. Whoa. There's a little bit of a maze segment in here where there are retractable arms that will drop down if you don't shoot them enough. It's really easy to make a mistake here, and you don't want to do that. This is where I always make a mistake, is in here, because there are enemies just coming at you from the edge of the screen. And those lasers mean business. Now, this particular mini boss here, you'll notice how, and I'll show you in a second here, it'll actually grip. First, I gotta get rid of these guys. There we go. He'll actually grip the ends of the stages, causing suction, which makes it difficult to avoid lasers and such. At this point, though, I'm in pretty good shape. Notice those things there? Yeah, that's how I lost my first power-up. If you're not careful, don't look at the top and bottom of the stage, you never know what's going to take you down. Close. Now it's sounding the alert, so this is it. Or at least the game wants you to think so. Now it's game time. You've heard of the expression, everything but the kitchen sink, and that's pretty much what this is. But if you can get through this, now your ship's being scanned. Oops. I did it! That's actually a really good weapon to have. If you have the first... There are 3 different missile types. If you have the first missile, that's usually the best one to have. Of course, now I have no weapons to help me. And now you gotta take the ghost down. All the while you're trying to escape this exploding base. It's really exciting stuff. Uh-oh. And I did it. 38 minutes and change later. Some more Mode 7 work. You have saved the solar system. Your mission is complete, thankfully. Peace has been restored to your people. And again, this is the easy ending, so I believe if you play on higher difficulties, the ending is a little bit better. And cue the ending credit music, and that is Axelay for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Published by Konami. Now kind of drop the music down a little bit here. So, Axelay is still a fantastic game to this day. Granted, it's a little on the short side. If you play higher difficulties, you'll probably get more time out of it. But it wasn't meant at least in my opinion, to be a lengthy adventure. It's very arcade styled, all a lot of Gradius and Life Force in its roots. So the idea isn't so much beating the game, but it's beating the game on higher difficulties and getting as high a score as you possibly can. Those are really the two objectives here, and it stays in line with Konami's shooter heritage, to be honest. And that's what makes it a fantastic game. Also, what's interesting is what Konami was able to do with the Super Nintendo hardware. Sure, there was some slowdown here and there, but if you think about all the things that were going on and everything that the processor was handling at the time, it's actually a pretty impressive output. The music is fantastic. The sound effects are great. The ship handles great. The controls, obviously, you can customize them any way you want, and they're very responsive. The game's just a lot of fun to play. If you don't have it in your collection, if you have a Super Nintendo, or if you have a Virtual Console, if it's still up there for Wii, I really do strongly recommend that you add this to your collection. It is pricey, I will give you that. It's not a rare title, but it's kind of uncommon, and it does command a bit of money. But in my opinion, it's certainly worth it. And no, I'm not going to challenge normal mode now. I hope you guys enjoyed this playthrough of Axelay for the Super Nintendo. My name is Peter from Retro Unscripted. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on the next episode of Retro Unscripted. Until that time comes, take care, everybody.